Glug, 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 glug.
Oh, yeah, you're going to play with my depth perception here, aren't you?
When?
When, Stefani?
Something about old bathwater.
Old bathwater, keep on rolling.
That's a very interesting combination. But I don't know if that can avoid DMCA. In fact, that might be two separate strikes right there. Thanks, Mississippi Moon.
Won't you keep on shining on me?
We live? I think we're live.
We are live. Hello, and welcome to episode 25
25.
of the Whiskey Podcast. We've been doing this kind of relatively consistently for over a year now at this point.
Yeah, we looked it up because we hit 25, and I'm going, well, we do it every other week, so 26 should be our 1 year, but, life kind of got in the way a few times, and so
Yep.
we looked it up. It was 3rd of 2020. We started
Episode
this.
1, yeah.
Yeah. And we're at, we're almost in June. Wow, the time just flew by. And
was remarkably still for a long time. It's like I hadn't seen another place in a year or a decade or something.
that's funny. Just going back and looking at this whole venture, where we've gotten to in 25 episodes. The hurdles, the pitfalls, all the advice we should have and didn't and did take to get where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And so far, we've not actually been able to act on any of that real advice. But you know what? We haven't killed each other. So I'll drink to that. Blink.
There, I'll have another marker to sync to later.
Right.
Yeah, today was the first episode of the dog clicker. So
yeah, he tried the dog whistle on me, and that one didn't give him the same kind of results he was looking for.
I can support him with
And you're supposed to give me a treat. That's how this works.
Yes, we will. The treat is this Grangestone Highland single malt Scotch whiskey we're drinking, which I was not expecting a whole lot off of this, and you'll understand why in a minute. But I'm just going to go off the case notes here. This Grangestone single malt has been matured in traditional American oak casks until it has achieved the perfect balance of flavors. Green leafy notes play in harmony with sweet, delicate oak flavor. The whiskey is then transferred to fill bourbon casks to allow for further development. The aroma is leafy, spring blossom overlaid with subtle vanilla oakiness, which that is very true. The taste is mellow, sweet with a gentle oak palate with subtle spices and a fruity character, and the finish is crisp, clean with an enduring vanilla sweetness. Now,
I'd agree with all that.
I agree with all of that.
It's very blatant. So it's blatantly a younger Scotch.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have the development of, say an 18-year-old or even a lot of 12-year-old Scotches. But
it's not that burny aftertaste. It's relatively clean to drink.
Yeah, and the wives have been doing all of our Scotch purchases because they know if we walk into Total Wine or the like, we'll end up, walking out of there $100 lighter in the wallet with one bottle.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the fiscal responsibility of our wives in a bit. So how much did this bottle sell us back?
I remember her sending the pictures like, I'm getting this. Like, not, should I get this? I'm getting this. And I looked, and it was, the retail on it was $30. And it was on sale for $24.99.
Yep.
And I went
at Total Wines, I think it was. Yeah,
Total Wine. Yeah,
so just a local chain
I have a general rule with my scotches that anything under $30 tends to be turpentine, and it's held up relatively true.
Except in this case.
The curse has been broken of the $30 bottle of scotch. This is
Well, this is a good sharing one. You've got, you've got friends coming over. You need to get through something. You're going to get through something quick, and it's not going to hurt your wallet.
yeah. I mean, if you're a discerning palate, this ain't it, but it's not something you're not gonna spit it out in the garden when no one's looking.
Right. And it's not going to leave that warm, burning taste and smell on the back of your nose.
Yeah, this one would actually, I venture to say, could be dangerous because I could go through 3 glasses of this and not have that, the Scotch throat going.
Yeah, no, I'm probably going to refill, and that's after skipping Martini Night last night because I was way too hungover from the night before.
Oh,
but
yes.
before we get into all that.
But yeah, I mean, that brings up the little bit of life updates we had. Last night, we, let's get in the Wayback Machine. This
For those of
family,
you that are too young to understand, that was a movie reference from the 80s. We'll tell you when you're older.
the movie was in the 90s. It
I know
was
what
from
I'm-
it was from a skit that was developed in the
Exactly.
80s. Right.
So no one watched it. That was, a younger person these days with their hippity hoppity.
Jesus, dude.
Oh, what's wrong, Grandpa? Am I making you feel old?
It's almost become on brand for you at this point with your hippity hoppity.
Oh yeah.
I love it. But no, the family, the wives' family, I should say, has had a long-standing tradition of doing Martini nights, and I think this extends long before your participation in this family.
This extends back to when the Mrs.'s other was still around.
Yeah. I think I don't think it precedes my time, but
I believe it's like a 10, 15-year thing.
yeah. Well, I've been around for an
Yes, we
absurd,
know, Grandpa. We know.
absurd around it. No, I mean in this family.
Yes.
Was another one that the wife and I recently commiserated on, that it's been well over half of her life that we've been together. But yeah, so it obviously took hiatus with the COVID crisis and everything that ensued. I think the last one was shortly after you moved into this house.
Shortly after we moved. No, we had one in 2019 because Mama Bear made the martinis but didn't drink any because she was pregnant.
Right, okay, that was the last one. Yeah. And obviously with, babies and not being able to drink, it just kind of was like, well, why am I going to keep throwing martini nights and just be miserable with a belly? And so
Exactly.
yeah, it stopped for 2019. It stopped for 2020, and last night we had to return to form, and we had a house full of people, and
it was nice.
it was very nice. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely overwhelming, because one thing about everyone that attends these martini nights is they certainly have a lot of character.
Yeah, and volume.
Yes,
Most of them are teachers or teacher adjacent.
they know how to project.
They don't need to be right up on their microphones. And yeah, my social anxiety has only worsened over the pandemic with not being able to see people. So yeah, having that many people in a small space kind of overwhelmed me. And I noticed that my daughter,
Yeah, the 4-year-old.
the oldest, she ducked out of that.
Oh yeah. No, like people showed up, she looked around and just bolted.
Yeah, she
And
looked
was
around,
gone.
she kind of played for a minute, and then was just like, and I looked at her, I said, just be careful. There's a lot of adults here. They're not going to see you. And she went, cool, that's my cue. I'm out. And she spent the entire event basically in your bedroom watching
Either in our room watching
dino trucks.
Dino trucks or dino robots or something like that. Or she made me turn on the dinosaur game and sit on my lap so that she could play it, quote unquote. Even though we just turned on
you did this
Richie Bob
here for a
Jr.
minute. Yeah.
Well, that first she punched me in the eye. And that's how she got my attention. And then once she had my attention, she wanted to be in the office and playing games. So
The youngest was just kind of in and out of the room all
Mhm.
night, hamming it up. She loves an audience,
Oh yeah, because she so rarely gets it.
right?
It's usually the oldest or the very youngest,
Mhm.
and she's the middle child.
Yep. And yeah, she's definitely settling into that role.
hmm
Yeah.
Although I still love that my 1-year-old will like start or will start things with your younger one now, Charlotte, because oh, that's how you want to interact. Okay, that's how we interact.
Right.
So like the other day, they were growling at each other and headbutting each other. And my 1-year-old is still very small. I mean, she's 16 months today. Yeah, 16 months today. And she weighs only about 2.5 pounds less than your 3-year-old or almost 3-year-old.
Yeah, my children are small
Yeah.
by comparison.
My child is small also. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just, you know, we put on size in the horizontal direction, not just the vertical.
Yeah. So yeah, so we had Martini Night. I actually I had my old coworker swung by the house on Tuesday,
Yes.
and we sat back in the backyard. He's trying to learn Python,
Ah,
um, and in his advanced age, he's got another probably 6 years on me. Has basically forgotten how to drive a computer.
yep.
I was just like, you go, the book goes, create a folder on your drive somewhere called Python underscore work. And he goes, how do I make a folder? I said, you just open up File Explorer. And he goes,
What?
Where's File Explorer? Like,
Mhm.
it's that little folder icon. It's down there at the bottom of your screen. And he opens it up. And of course, Windows 10, by comparison, the last thing he drove on a daily basis was like Windows XP,
Right.
um, is vastly different. And it was
Mhm.
almost painful to watch and very telling of his generation.
Yeah. Oh, no, like, on the flip side of that, my work ended up picking back up, and we had, multiple IRs, incident responses, hit us
Mhm.
simultaneously to the point that, last weekend, I dragged Nate Fu here into, one with me
Yep.
because the client basically needed their entire network rebuilt from scratch as a part of the response. And, you know
Don't click on links in your emails, folks.
yeah.
It does not end well.
If you get an email from your boss telling you to quickly go out and buy 100 gift cards of anything, look at that in a suspect manner. But regardless of that, you know, watching the engineers put their heads down and, get sucked into it, become ADHD hyper focused, and then watching the client so I have all my devices connected and I'm connecting with my own personal devices and pretty much every email, everything goes go there. Whatever I want to look at, I look at. That's not a problem, is it? And I'm just like,
Well, we need
this
to
is why we can't have nice
yeah,
things
well,
across the board.
and we tell them, well, we need to institute, you know, acceptable use policy for, the office here. And he goes, yeah, well, go ahead and send that out to my workers, but
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
I'm the owner.
Yeah.
No, no, no. This applies to you as well,
Mhm.
right? You are not immune,
And most likely you're the one that brought it in.
right? But yeah, that is a common refrain in all my years of doing IT, is that the owners think that they're above procedure, and above reproach when it comes to breaking said procedures. This was a common thing at our last job together, where
Yep.
um, we effectively shadow banned the two owners of the company from most of the resources because they just couldn't be trusted to
Yeah.
behave themselves.
And they couldn't use it. We'd give them enough that they, felt like they were in charge of everything, but Quite literally,
And to be
like,
fair, they didn't actually need access to it. They just because they were the
yeah,
owners, they
we're the
felt,
owners, we need access to
yeah, we need
everything.
to see everything. And it's like,
Meanwhile, every time the
okay.
stupid virus detection would go off, it was always the same 2 computers. But I'm on a Mac, we can't get viruses. Yes, yes, you can, guys.
You can, sure. It's not as prevalent as a Windows machine. And this was a conversation we had over this weekend
Mhm.
with some of the equipment that this particular client was
It's
using.
like, no, no, now actually it's just about, 50-50 as far as,
Yeah.
chances between devices, but, a decade plus ago, the lion's share was PCs,
Mhm.
especially in
Yeah,
work environments.
and most places you walk into now are using some sort of a Cisco backend, and that's all great. And Cisco is very good about pushing updates um, in a very timely fashion. But then again, your onus is on your engineer to actually apply those updates,
Well,
to
and so
find the
it's
time
not
to actually shut the network down and update.
yeah, but it's not just to, like, badmouth anything like that. Cisco's a great company. The problem is that they're so great that they own a significant portion of the, total market share, and as a result, they're a target because targeting one type of system now is gonna hit more
Well,
people. That was the what it came down to with Macs versus PCs is, originally Macs, there weren't that many people using that in the professional world,
yeah.
and so people didn't bother doing it because it wasn't gonna reap results. Well,
Well,
now
we recently had the entire Eastern Seaboard go down, the entire internet, for lack of a better, more graceful term on it, and it was Amazon Web Servers that were attacked. And
yep,
it's the same thing that applies when you're the big dog in town and you own a significant portion of the market share. You're the target of convenience.
yep.
I could write a nasty virus for a particular distro of Linux, and it's not going to net me anything because no one's using it.
Exactly.
Right? I could target all sorts of weird back end stuff for every sort of router configuration that's out there, and it's not going to net me anything. But if I build for Amazon Web Services with a Cisco backend with a PC interface, Windows PC interface, I've got
Mhm.
between those three a lot of targets.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's not even the equipment that's the problem. I'd say majority of the issues are people making mistakes or people not following policies and procedures and opening the door, and once the door's open
Oh, it's social engineering at its finest, and
mhm.
this is something that
By the way, what was the first car you drove?
I was gonna say,
Mhm.
I literally had to ping a family member of mine this week because, she responded to your stripper name is the street you grew up on, the first car you drove, and your mother's maiden name.
Mhm.
And she happily filled out all three of those. And it was just like very gently hop on my keyboard and go, please stop answering security questions.
Mhm.
Those are cute and fun and they seem innocuous, but you know, between this one and the other 25 that you do, they're
Yep.
building a deck on you.
Oh, yeah. My favorite is, one of my coworkers, she does OSINT, which is called open source or it's called OSINT, it's open source intelligence gathering. And basically, it's she'll start looking for what's readily available out on the internet for you and your domain or your email address or your company or things like that, and what's posted out there is ridiculous. And, like, yeah, she'll go down rabbit holes, but most of the time, it doesn't take her a lot of effort
No,
to dig up
they're very
everything.
narrow or very shallow burrows that you have to
Mhm.
go through. Yeah, and it's like if you have an option for two factor, use it. If you have an option for using some sort of password generator, use it. Like these are
So how did this turn into a, cybersecurity chat?
we were talking about, oh, my buddy learning Python.
Oh, got it. Well, long story short,
Yeah.
Nate Fu got called in to help, and our wives have already spent it. Apparently,
I
Mama
haven't even
Bear and
gotten
I
paid for it yet.
yeah, neither have I. But apparently Mama Bear and I are getting a, sleep number bed, king size sleep number bed. So I need quite a few more of these, or a sleep number. If you happen to listen, I'd be more than happy to, for you to pay me to do a sleep number commercial so I can pay off the sleep number bed.
We'll happily sponsor and review.
Nice. And it might just be the girls, using the elevated headrest back up and down consistently for 20 minutes.
Uh, what's next? Are we just going to move the camera over here and we'll actually start streaming out of the hot tubs, pools, and what is it?
It's summertime, so I might as well start
Hot
using it.
pools and beaches category on
Oh, yeah.
Twitch? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that's blatantly what everyone in our video audience wants to see is the two of us in a hot tub.
I take care of myself here.
I don't.
Well, and the parts that you don't take care of would be very much under the water. So
Uh-huh. It's just like my face and everything else just blurred out. You've got the technology for that,
right? Episode 26. Pick a drink and pickled old men.
right? Dad bod is not necessarily in.
Oh, it's in the water.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that was a whole interesting series of updates with Twitch. They did their hot tub category basically, which from a pure business sense, I 100% agree with.
Right.
It was the smart move. It was how do we have the least amount of impact but still give people control and ability to do things. But what stood out to me is, in particular, the one paragraph, which I'm going to paraphrase, but it came along the lines of just because you find something
Hold on. I actually
attractive does not mean that it is in violation of any policies. That is your problem of the streamers.
Here we go here. Being found to be sexy by others is not against our rules, and Twitch will not take enforcement action against women or anyone on our service for their perceived attractiveness.
And that's actually like a huge
That is a
statement.
solid take, though. Like, if you're going to come out and make a statement on something, that's the way you do it. And I don't commend Twitch often for moves they make because they have made some serious foibles
Mhm,
over their history with the way they do content moderation and the audiences they cater to.
mhm.
Uh, that was good. That was whoever wrote that, whoever is in their spin department, kudos to you.
Yeah.
Because that is the right way to say it.
And it puts them, I think, on the right side of that conversation. And what I found very interesting is shortly, the immediate response from a lot of the community was, "Oh, we got a hot tub, group now, but why can't we get a LGBTQ tag or a trans tag or any of those sort of
Oh,
things
but
now?"
wait, they actually dropped that
And so they
this
dropped
week.
that
Yeah.
actually, a few days later, but as part of a much larger overall reset up recategorization of things. But, for me, it was okay, just because they took one action does not negate the other efforts. This is just the one that was blatantly on fire at the moment.
Right, and this one did not require the level of nuance that a social movement does.
Right.
You have to handle that properly, and from the statement that came out on that is they've been concerning about this for a while on how
Mhm,
to implement that. They felt that just having the alphabet soup tag was good enough,
mhm.
um, and the public outcry they heard,
Yeah.
but
Well, not only did they
they didn't
hear.
understand how to implement that in a way that didn't seem pandering.
Well, what I think they ended up doing was actually smart. It wasn't just, okay, well, this one particular group is the one that's the loudest in this current, echo chamber. So that's the only one we're going to address. No, they did language categorizations and country categorizations and, different, religious and
Mhm.
different, sexual orientations and even different modes of games and how they could be, figured out from there. They completely redid the tag system to allow for much more customization of communities
It comes
rather
down to
than just
nuance. Yeah.
one specific group. And again, I give them kudos for that because, having sat in a lot of international streams where it's like, "Well, that person's Polish, but there really isn't a Polish tag, so it's
Right.
just a bunch of additional things they're putting in their title." I was like, "Well, no."
They're streaming under Eastern European,
Right.
which has all sorts of connotations involved with it, of
Exactly.
the pool of content you're now being dropped into.
And so
But
just like
again,
all those groups now.
it's a difference between content moderation versus content discovery,
Right.
right? Content discovery needs to be nuanced. Content moderation, in the case of the hot tub beaches, whatnot,
Mhm.
there were people that were clearly violating, but they got away with it because Twitch is right by saying we can't moderate sexiness or attractiveness off of our service.
Yep.
Now, because of that, it was being exploited, um, and people were gaming the system. So it was a very easy step for them to say, well, here's a category we can put you in. If you now choose to continue to stream in the gaming or
Mhm.
whatever subheading, you're in the whatever Dead
Well,
by Daylight
it came down
or
to
Roblox,
appropriateness.
right? Right. But now you're streaming in these under these headings, but you're inappropriately dressed for that venue.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it comes down, like, if it's relevant to where you are, like, okay, if you're doing a cosplay of a character while, playing that game, sure. I know plenty of people that do that. If you're just wearing a bikini in front of a computer, that is blatantly you trying to take advantage of something and not, in the appropriate context. If you're outside at a pool or at a beach and doing a live stream or something like that where everyone's doing that, then that's appropriate.
I mean,
And so
me
there's
personally,
gray lines
like,
between.
I don't have an issue if someone wants to stream Destiny
Mhm.
in a bikini.
Now, in
That
fact,
doesn't
I
bother
do
me, right?
watching some of those Destiny streamers, like, I do
Well,
not wanna see Dan in a bikini. I'm just putting that out there. Dano, we love you, but you don't need to stream in a bikini.
Richie Bob, come on, Richie Bob's
He doesn't play
topless,
Destiny.
whatever, but
But, that beard. But no, but, like, but with all that being said, if you look at what all of this came down to, it was advertisers.
yes.
And, you know, advertisers kind of go based they can select what streamers
Mhm.
their content is being shown in, what categories their content is being shown in. And you know what? If you purposely are going to be doing that in um, you know, a beach thing, and they're gonna put content associated with that.
Sure.
If you're gonna be streaming to a Destiny audience, but your
Sure,
audience is there for
Coppertown would
other
love
reasons.
to advertise
Oh,
on
yeah,
a beaches
they do,
and
like,
pool
that's
stream.
some of the things that they're targeting, and that's how that works. Guess what? All of this is the same model behind television shows. That this isn't like, "Oh my god, Twitch is taking advantage of us." This is literally the way the entertainment industry has been running for 80 years. Um,
And then, of course, the other knock-on effect of putting this category on here is if you do have someone that has rolled a kiddie pool into their office, filled it up with water, and is sitting in a beach chair in a bikini so that they can stream their favorite video game and say, "Well, I'm wearing a bikini because I'm in a pool." Right. Obviously gaming the system. By giving it a category that has context to it, it's now actionable.
yeah.
Whereas under the existing terms of service, you could make a case, because I'm sitting in a pool, this is appropriate attire for this venue.
Well, it's context, and that's
Right.
what it comes down to.
Right. But without having it in the terms of service and being able to be categorized, it wasn't actionable.
Right.
Even as blatant as it was. So they've
So
done
that's Twitch, yeah.
they've done a few things in that process by, again, making people accountable for what they do. It makes the advertisers, which is where the money comes from on
Mhm.
both ends for both Twitch, Amazon, and the streamer themselves. Um,
Mm.
everyone's accountable for what they're putting out there now and can be moderated as such. So that's my take on that.
So weren't we supposed to talk about our family and kids at some point? We talked about, running away from Martini Night, but, a lot more has happened in the last 2 weeks.
What has happened for you in the last two
Well,
weeks here, other
yesterday
than
was officially the last day of school
yes,
and the last day of daycare, so everyone's on summer break. So we've got that. Um, and, again, spending the money already. Apparently, they're going to SeaWorld this week
on
and then the
Thursday, yeah.
aquarium and all these extra trips. Well, they're both teachers and not bringing in any income for that. So hopefully, we both get a couple more IR calls soon.
Not bitter or anything.
No, just realistic. I
We
mean, there's nothing we could say that would change the fact,
lucky.
but
We really do.
I think they're over us and we're over them. When do you guys go back to school? That'd be great. Thanks. Uh,
And I mean, yeah, like we could get into the shit show that whole thing was. Like everyone finally got, we got used to.
yeah, we got a whole 6 weeks of everyone being back in person in
Right. Well,
school,
we had
at daycare
we
and a
had
normal
what,
work
9
schedule.
months of everyone getting accustomed to a new way of teaching
Mhm,
via microphones and webcams,
mhm.
both on the student end. And decisions were made to, okay, well, we're going back into the classroom. Awesome. Finally get everyone back in there, see how it's all done. Summer break.
Yep, and then next year it'll be a completely different mess.
I think next year we'll start pretty much without a hitch. It's going to look a lot
Hopefully,
like it used to,
hopefully.
right?
At this point, I don't trust this, with only 60% of the population vaccinated and others, almost 30 million people refusing to be vaccinated.
I mean, California's doing their part by offering what $50,000, $50,000 prize over the next 3 weeks for anyone that gets vaccinated. You get put you
Get
get
a lottery.
$50 just to go, and a chance to be $50,000 over the $50,000 per week over a 3 week period. So you're in, and then it goes into a giant raffle pool of everyone, and that includes us, thankfully.
Mhm.
Um, anyone that has gotten their vaccination goes in a pool to win $1.5 million. So,
'Cause America.
because capitalism is king, money talks. If you can't get compliance through normal means, you can effectively buy it.
Yeah,
It's kind of a scary thought.
but also true,
Yeah.
God bless us, every one of us.
And some of us didn't need that. Like some of us actually had the
Caring
goodwill.
about ourselves and
Yeah,
other human beings
yeah, the goodwill to care about
and
us and our
believing in
neighbors.
science, and I don't wanna sound, judgmental, but,
And
yeah.
again, not a knock on you. You were the last of the family to get vaccinated, and it was just because it wasn't available for you, right? You were lowest risk of the
Mhm.
group, and I think we had to kinda game you into that too, right? To get it done as
A
soon
little
as you
bit,
did?
as early as I did, but had we waited, like 3 weeks later, I would've been in the pool anyway for it, so I literally
But
gained
that
3
3
weeks on
weeks
it.
is significant.
Oh, it was huge. Just seeing how things get back together this past Thursday, like, for the first time at this new job, I met the rest of my coworkers
Right.
face to face. We set up an office, we all went in there, like, I got to go there with my kid because everyone had been vaccinated, everyone who was there and was a part of it, and it was strange because, like, oh, there you do exist above the, stomach up on your webcam, and,
And I
all of you
effective
are wearing pants, I was concerned about that.
Yeah, I was able to effectively have an interview by Crucible.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
That was fun. Like, legitimately, it was a struggle, but it was fun.
Yeah, that's again, I've worked in aerospace now for 16 years, and it's not my field of passion. It was a job that I got that made ends meet,
Mhm.
but I've been over the course of those last 16 years, going back to school, trying to get all my certifications done to try to work my way back into the IT field. I love doing it. Like there was
Mhm.
not a single point over that weekend we were doing this IR that I felt uncomfortable or
Legit, like, I was telling my wife, it's the happiest I think I've seen you after a full day of work in maybe as long as I've known
like
you.
on Saturday we put in.
Saturday, we did 8 to n no, we did 6 to 9, including travel,
Yeah,
because we had to go
and
way down south for it.
7 to 8 of that was working.
Yeah. And then Sunday, we did, again, 6 to 3 or 4?
Yeah. But yeah, so Saturday I put in at the actual site a 13-hour day.
Yeah.
And it didn't phase me in the slightest. Whereas at my current job, man, I'm watching for that 8-hour mark so I can
Mhm.
clock out and get the F home and pour
Uh,
myself a glass of
and
scotch. And
I I'm lucky with this group, and hopefully we can get you in there. But like, it's the first place I've been in a while where like genuinely people care and they want to be a part of the conversation and are happy to be there.
Mhm.
And this group just not because of any diversity metrics or things like that, but we're in a technology field and have almost more women than men
Yeah.
in as part of the
And that
team.
actually shocked me, not on a and not again on not on a social level.
Huh?
The fact that the talent pool does exist, and
Hun-
it's very
There's
rare that
100%.
you very rarely see it actually show through, because hiring practices are, well, we would prefer the white man,
Yeah.
right?
No, we've got a really diverse group,
Mhm.
and just like some of the things that factored out, we realized that out of 8 of us that were having the conversation, 4 of us were left-handed. We've got which is again all the odds against us.
Yeah, you can't write
We
on a
have an
whiteboard to save
engineering
your life.
department that a third of it is women. And we've got women pretty much running the operations of a lot of the areas, and keeping things moving. And it's not something you typically see in a traditional bro squad mentality, but it gives me hope for, where things can go with the right people, leading it. It gives me hope for our girls. Like they could do whatever the hell they want. They have a female vice president right now.
Exactly. I mean, I guess the big point is, like, the big argument made, especially in certain fields, is, well, we would love to hire more insert
Hmm. Demographic or
demographic, but the talent doesn't exist, and the reality is it does, uh, but it's not promoted to, it's not catered to. There is no reason. I mean, there's a reason that there aren't a lot of male teachers, because again, it's not pushed in their field. It's not pushed into their view as a desirable job, because, well, teaching jobs typically go to your mid-20s, mid-30s women,
mhm.
and that's just what it is, right? So why would a male try to break into that industry? And then
And
conversely,
we can
like,
we can go off the fact that, the costs associated with doing some of these jobs and the, pay for it aren't, the same or aren't consistent appropriately.
right,
I have, someone who literally has taken the same income that their father took before them, and their rent has tripled in the last decade,
sure,
and that's not changing or upkeeping, and these just supposed to be prestigious jobs that required master's degrees and all that shit, and, in a lot of cases, it's, some of these roles are socially acceptable, but then, looked down upon and shunned
right.
for the same exact reasons. Yep.
Yeah, we actually don't have the family here, all of them.
Yeah, all the women, the mother-in-law, the wives, the kids decided, I guess, at 7 a.m. this morning, "We should do the zoo this afternoon." Like, "Alright, have fun, peace."
Yeah, and good, go, enjoy.
Mhm,
But yeah, they're the typical source of our outtakes
mhm.
and shenanigans that happen in the stream.
That's
Like,
the whole reason we started that new, content series.
yeah, yeah, we actually did release our first of hopefully many, um, skits.
No, it's for any of you that are old enough and remember the old, uh, Jack Handey, Deep
Deep Thoughts
Thoughts,
with Jack Candy, yeah.
in the was it late '80s, early '90s,
So SNL,
on SNL.
they still do them.
Yeah, it's none of the same writers
No,
though, but we're doing something very much in line with that, but it's really just quotes or observations that the kids are doing. Um, Quick 20-second mini short, you know, shit the toddler does.
right?
And I think the first one was about, your 4-year-old's obsession with bondage and, toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This spans back a couple episodes where, yeah, my my oldest has some weird fascination with leashes and uh, chains and ropes where she likes to tie things up, and that includes her toys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
We take Aquanauts to a whole new level.
we captured one of those moments and put in a little piece of content. We're obviously open for submissions if anyone else has anything they would
Oh, yeah.
like
No,
to
this is
display.
a nice little. Oh God, we have to share this with someone. And how do we make it so that people will appreciate it?
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean, just before we started this episode, I captured a somewhat safe for work image of my oldest
completely
butt
naked.
naked in the tree right over here because
She was a koala, and koalas don't wear clothes.
shit, my
Yeah,
toddler does. Oh gosh.
yeah. I do. I can't even like. At this point, I know they're starting to get bored with us, and I can only imagine what's going to happen after 2 months of summer break.
Oh, what do you mean, the wives and kids? Or
All of them, all of them. They all need to go back.
we're
Like,
not even on summer break yet. You're already wishing them to go back?
yes, because
Wow.
I know what's going to happen. I've been here before. This isn't the first time. It's going to be cabin fever, dogs and cats living together, pure pandemonium,
Uh, so dogs, cats, or pandas?
all the above.
And koalas.
But someone is going to be running for mayor of New York.
We don't talk politics on this podcast. We know
Yeah.
that.
No, that's all Ghostbusters reference still. The fact that we have to explain that, though, is rather disturbing. No, it's not. It's these youngsters with their hippity hoppity.
God.
Uh-huh. I changed up my tagline. What was it at the beginning of all this? Was let's be real,
Yes. We haven't had that drinking game in a while.
right? No, that made the missus very drunk playing that drinking game, so I took the hint.
It's funny how, like,
She is so funny when she drinks. She tells me every time that she is so fucking funny.
uh, gosh. I'm very happy the construction that was going on
Next door has
next
stopped.
door has laid back. Yeah, I
It's
guess
been going on for, like, months.
it almost looks like they're because I flipped a Yui in the cul-de-sac here. Right behind us here is a cul-de-sac, and it looks like your neighbors are building, like, a legit training facility in their garage
Oh, yeah.
to the point where they put ADA compliant markings all the way out to the main street.
Well, they've had, you know, pallets of sod and concrete and cement delivered. They've had backhoes. They've had, a construction crane set up during the week. I don't know what they're building, but I'm expecting some like evil, James Bond villain. The house is gonna scooch over and a rocket's gonna come out of it. Evil genius-esque. Um, which is a great game. I just haven't had time to commit to it. Speaking of games, what kind of game stories we got going on?
Well, this week I don't have a whole ton because it's been an absolute just
Yeah,
crap show
I'm
between
not gonna be able to play anything, but
the work stuff with you, the work stuff where I've contributed, and then my own work stuff. Um, yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play, but
so let's see. Ark Ark Genesis 2 expansion
so
is
what is
supposed to be
this
released.
Genesis 2 thing? I was kind of miffed on it because you were like, well, because Gen 2 is coming out, they're having a sale on it, and I didn't want to just go out and buy it and then
So the
have
way
all that content
Ark
left
works
behind.
is there's the Ark base,
Mhm.
and then, there's a combination of free maps and um DLC maps that you can download and play. And what we've got through Richie Bob's server, community server, is basically every map, every DLC, um, formal DLC and formal map that's released,
Right.
we have a dedicated server for. Um, we have a cluster of all of them, so you can go back and forth as long as you have that DLC. But what happened is Ark tried something, and this is, I think, the last of their official Ark, you know, Ark 1 before Ark 2 becomes more the focus. Is they did the Genesis season pass, and the Genesis maps are combination of unique critters and things like that, but they've got quests, for lack of a better
Critters.
term,
Yeah.
that are a part of them. So it could be everything from races that you achieve, that you have to go through on dinosaurs to, fighting off
Races as in, like, running races, or races as
like
in
you get on a dinosaur and have to run through it, or, underwater races where they put you on a manta ray and you've gotta swim through hoops in a timed manner and things like that, and get reward points, and that the reward points will be traded in for different resources.
interesting.
And, so it's an interesting take of, okay, well, you've got this survival game. How do you add, a linear progression or content or something more to do rather than the open-ended side of
Sure.
it? So Genesis 1 was the first map that came out, and it definitely had its issues, but it was a very interesting take. I've not spent a whole lot of time doing quests. I think I've done 3 quests on it.
Ooh,
Right?
Mr. Grind Everything?
But I have time. It's Genesis came out a lot more recently, and my time has been just playing catch up on any of those things, but with Gen 2 coming out now, it's kind of the conclusion, and part of the quest is talking about the overall storyline of Ark, like the whole backstory of what are these things? Why are you suddenly waking up on a beach and there's dinosaurs there?
Right. That was
Why
that was one thing that was always kind of an unknown for me every time I've played Ark is the complete lack of lore.
Oh, there's a ton of lore. It's just not immediately in your face.
Right.
You have to go out and find it, and, finding the lore,
Well, no, I mean, I think one
so
of the first, like, when Ark first came out, I hopped on it
yeah,
because
well,
they
we
gave
played
it
the beta
away. Yeah,
originally,
and it
and
was just non-existent.
right. But it's come a long way, and, with the content that they've done here, they're spinning off Arc into, there's a animated series, there's, it's being developed based on Arc, and it's got some major talent behind it, actually. Um, Vin Diesel is one of the lead stars and
Oh,
the
yes.
producers for Arc 2, and he's a huge gamer, which I love so much, like, and he's not afraid of it being a gamer type thing.
Vin
But
Diesel's
he's
not saying
joining the
no to a
Twilight
lot of
Zone.
things.
Yeah,
Just once you do Fast and Furious and
he's
I
having
think
fun, and, like,
well,
it's
yeah,
legit
but
that he has fun.
people memed on it, and it got to a point where it was like, fine, meme on it, I'm having a good time doing this. Yes,
Right.
it's over the top and it's just lambastic, but, like, it's I'm gonna go watch
Dude, I wanna go play Dungeons& and Dragons with Vin Diesel,
the coolest
seriously.
Fast 9 is coming out, what, this upcoming weekend?
I think so, something like that.
And it's like, I wanna go see it because it's just dumb fun.
Right, and that's all it is, and, you get your bromances in there. What is it, Rock and Vin Diesel? Um, which complete tangent, for the dad bromances out there, you had, uh, um, The Rock, whose daughter, I guess, like, 5 or 6-year-old daughter is obsessed with Aquaman, and I guess The Rock's gonna be playing Shazam in an upcoming DC movie, but, like, her favorite DC character is Aquaman. We posted something about it, and so Jason Momoa, as, a fellow dad,
Right.
um, um, sent her happy birthday as Aquaman and things like that, and completely made her day. And I'm like, come on, that's the type of shit that, oh yeah, they're these big, buff, tough guys, whatever, that have the glamour shot going on, but they're dads, and, they enjoy doing this sort of shit.
Being a father, uh, there's almost a universal truth to it that it doesn't matter your status in life when you meet another father, and I've found this through all of my social interactions. When I latch onto another dad, it's
It's kind of scary. He ends up crying and hugging them and realizing he's not alone.
there's an instant brotherhood around
Mhm.
the, shared misery of parenting.
And it's like some people can take it so seriously and be like, how dare you say such things? But I follow this one blogger, influencer, for lack of a better term, Dad and Buried.
Yes.
And it's literally like all he does is talk, jokes and talk shit about his kids. But it's, his humor that's helping him get through it and share it. And some of it's 100% genuine. Like he
Yeah.
posted something the other day
Dad
that
and Buried has been a while now.
yeah,
Like I
but he
think his
still
his
gets
oldest
attacked.
is
9 or 10, something like that?
no, I think his oldest is like in their mid-teens. Right? That's how long we've been following. And before I became a parent, um,
It was
it
a
was a
parent?
parent. Yes.
God damn it.
It just dad jokes just fall out of us now.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, the humor was amusing and all, and it was like, that's funny. And then I became a parent, apparently.
Mhm.
And I can go back and look at that whole catalog of content and just go, yep, yep. Oh yeah.
Well, and it's nice also because and this is part of society, like and part of the reason, I created Debuff Dad and we do this in the first place is almost all parenting content is devoted towards moms. Because in our society, it's the women that take care of and raise the family and are responsible for it. And well, fuck that. Like, you know, as a dad, I wanna be a part of my family. I wanna be a part of my kids' lives. I wanna be there, a part of it, and, my wife and I are a team. It's not, "Oh, this is women's work," or some shit like that. It's like, no, I purposely was able to search for and found a job that allowed me to be home and be a part of my kids', childhood and growth.
Right.
But there just doesn't exist a whole lot of content focused for dads that isn't something like, "You're a dad, there's no crying. Teach them to be
Right.
strong."
Baseball? Yeah.
Or the, "Teach your girl to be a lady and, be respected as a lady," or things like that. It's like, no,
Teach your boys to hold open
yeah.
and right, the
It's like,
whole
no,
chivalry thing.
it's so much more than that. I mean, it's the day-to-day survival that always gets hidden, and this is this goes into part of mental health for parents and dads in
Right.
particular as well, is there's all these stigmas and, um, society taboos out there about what it takes to be, a good man in American society, and it's toxic as fuck.
Mhm.
And it's completely unrealistic, but that's how things were. I mean, there's a reason why they drank every 20 minutes in Mad Men, back in the '50s and '60s because that's how they could get
I
through the day.
feel attacked here.
We're only drinking during this episode. We're honestly, you know, sober and got our shit together outside of this episode. If you
Most
believe that, I've
mo
got a bridge to sell you.
but yeah, I mean, that speaks to a lot of things. And again, I know, get off my lawn, old man, but
Mhm.
I think it started with my father's generation was the last generation where dad worked, mom stayed at home,
Mhm.
where that was feasible,
Right.
where you could actually do that. And again, there's the 10 years between the two of us. Um, that stayed pretty consistent with us where we know better. Like you can't survive, especially in Southern California where we are.
Yeah.
You can't survive on one income.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
you
it's
have
not
to
even
you have to learn.
mentally feasible in a lot of regards to try and accomplish everything that's expected of, being a kid in society this day and age, not necessarily just, a parent or a family or anything like that.
When you well, what I'm getting at is when you had that single, you know, worker dynamic, that's what the man was required to go out and, hunt the food, bring home the bacon,
Mhm,
right, and provide for the family, and the wife did all the raising, nurturing, educating from
mhm.
home. And sadly, that's no longer true in any form of it. So with that shift comes a natural trade-off where fathers now have to be more involved in the parenting and nurturing and educating aspect of our children's lives.
Yeah. And it's even more than that, though. It's the realization that that burden being put on a specific family member just because of their
Gender role.
gender role
Yeah.
is kind of ridiculous.
Well,
I would
it
love
always
to be a
has been.
trophy
Yeah,
husband.
it always has been. But again, you look at my father's generation, there weren't jobs for women because women weren't like
Yeah,
there was no point in it because she wasn't going to get paid as
right,
much.
but
She
that's, I
wasn't
think,
going to
also part of
advance,
the
right?
realization is, our parents' generation, which boomers is really what it was, is their generation is they inherited a system that was, "This is what it is. You work in this system, you will succeed." And if you followed the rules, you played by the rules, you did damn well, and those society structures were part of that, but we're now in a world where a lot of that no longer is feasible from an economic standpoint. So the entire, why are these societal standards required? Soap operas existed for a reason because the, detergent companies
Right.
were targeting a very specific audience with those shows. Now it's like, you know, we're watching HGTV together and it doesn't matter what gender you are because at the end of the day, you're like, I sharpen pencils for a living and my budget is $1.8 million for these homes, you know? But, at the end of the day, the roles and responsibilities, we still have some taboos and some, expectations of it,
Mhm.
but they're no longer relevant. I know plenty of guys now that are actually staying home and being the, quote unquote family people, and plenty
Not
of
only actively, but desiring.
desiring to
Yeah.
do that. At the same time, I look back at my childhood and my mom for parts of it would work. I had either the television or a babysitter because we were lucky enough that we could afford that, who took care of me for years
Right.
while the parents were off doing their thing. Now adding that burden and finance to everything in there is become the expectation. Well, daycare for, someone here in Southern California before they can get into public school is easily $250, $300 a week at the low end.
We have steel
Yeah, we have a steal at
for
$180 a week
yeah.
because of, connections and things we've worked out, but, like,
Like
that's not normal.
I cut a check to our daycare for $1,500
Mhm,
for the last month of daycare. Like
mhm.
I remember when that was my rent.
Yeah,
Like $1,500 was all I needed to survive. I could pay my whatever my apartment rent was, and my utilities for $1,500.
1,500 was what I would be lucky to take home a month when I first started working.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are the realities of things here, and we're lucky to be in, decent jobs that can pay it. But, we're now going 2 months without either of our wives taking home a check. And yeah, we're not paying daycare, but we're paying for everything else that they're doing during that time.
Yep. And again, I'm fortunate enough to again when the pandemic hit that my 401k
Hmm.
offered a disbursement penalty free.
Hmm.
So I took advantage of that and pulled out some extra because again, the reality I face is 2 months of every year, it's going to be single income and my bills don't change.
Yep.
My mortgage doesn't change. My car payment doesn't change. And so, I took advantage of that small little handout,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term, um, to capitalize on my own money that I've been putting away to kind of make ends meet. And I was very, very shocked when I did my taxes this year that my tax administrator came back and said, "Well, because of the disbursement you took out and the way they reported it, you're going to owe $15,000 in taxes this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow. I was kind of expecting it, which is why I pulled out as much as I did, and earmarked those funds to pay those taxes. But because of a simple, someone didn't check a box, $15,000. When we sorted everything out and got everything, I'm actually getting $3,000 back. But yeah, it's like the reporting system even kind of screwed me because it was under expectations of normal times and normal family dynamics that, guess what?
Don't exist.
Yeah.
Like I've had to not cheat, but learn all the ins and outs of
Yeah.
different systems right now to just take advantage of it so that we didn't end up owing this past year because unemployment is taxable at the federal level. And, you know, for a lot of what those benefits were that benefited kids, my daughter was born January of last year, so we didn't get
Yep.
any of the extra benefits for a kid because she didn't exist to the IRS.
Subsist on an entire year
Mhm.
having to take care of a child.
Yep. So, like, we were able to work some of that out, and we're getting money back, but it's like, had we not been able to play
Yeah,
those games or have to run
you
one.
didn't even get any of the pandemic credits for having a kid because
No.
you didn't file with one.
Yeah. During the
Yeah.
2019 tax year, yeah, because she was born in 2020.
Yep. Scary, right?
Mhm.
Oh, as much as you wanna say it's dirty pool and gaming the system, no, it's working within
No,
the
it's knowing the
confines.
rules,
Yeah,
like,
knowing the rules and working within the confines, and guess what? Sometimes the little guy has to get back.
yeah, well, and that's the biggest thing is so many of these systems are designed for, "Hey, if you can afford to pay someone to do it for you,
Mhm.
you're gonna end up benefiting from it," but how many people can afford to have someone do it for them and take advantage of it? Like, that's where a lot of it comes down to, but, spend the $50 and have TurboTax or H&R Block at a very minimum step in and do
Yeah,
something if
do a
you've got a
one.
standard thing, yeah, and, it'll pay for itself in that regard. If you start doing things more complicated, yeah, learn it so you know what you're talking about, but don't try to do it alone.
No.
Like, there's people that, you know, it's okay not to be the smartest person in the room and have to do it all yourself.
I
Everyone who
remember
says
that
that they're a self-made man that
the
did
first
everything.
condo that I bought, I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, I just have a single W-2 and my wife wasn't even working when I the first year I filed with my condo."
Mhm,
And I was like, "Well, I've got a single W-2, I'll just do TurboTax." And I looked at the number and I'm like, "That just doesn't seem right."
mhm.
And fortunately for me, I have an accountant that's a close friend of ours, and I was just like, "Can you just give me a once over on this and tell me if this looks on the level?" And she's like, "Oh, you're missing this credit. You're missing this credit. You're missing this credit. You can write this off. You can write this off. Do you work from home at any point in time?" And because I was an independent contractor doing, mercenary IT, she goes, "Oh, we can write off part of your home office." And what would have been taking home $200, in a refund turned out to be $2,500 in a refund.
Mhm. But and, honestly, like,
And I don't feel
there's
bad
no
taking that
such thing
2,500
as
back.
a self-made man.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been like, "Oh, I did this all by myself from scratch," is full of shit.
Mhm.
They had, experts that they could turn to. They had friends they could rely on. They had connections who were able to open doors. They had, all of those things that are part of the process. Yes, they may have done the work and carried on when things got tough. And I don't wanna negate any of that effort, but no one succeeds in a vacuum.
At the end of the day, this is my own money,
Mhm.
right? This isn't fictitious money, right? This was my own taxes that I put as that got taken out of my paycheck that I'm now finding ways to get back some of that. It's not I'm not pulling money out of some government slush fund
Yeah.
to get
No,
over.
these are all
Right.
things that exist
Yep.
legally for you. It's just they don't expect you to know it.
Right.
And it's again, not just taxes. I've set up an S corp because with the way I do business and the different other things we're doing, it makes more sense to be independently incorporated that way,
Right.
and then, pay myself and my wife through that than it does for us to potentially just be standard W-2 employees, and,
And
you
it
know
also benefits the company you work for to not have to be on the hook for payroll
yeah,
taxes and
unemployment and, UTI and all those other things.
urinary tract infections.
Yeah, sure. I mean, apparently that's one of the posters you're supposed to put up. I mean, I could be messing up some of the abbreviations. My entire job right now is learning all these different abbreviations that actually don't mean anything close to what you think they mean.
Between your industry, my industry, and our teacher wives,
Mhm,
the amount of acronyms that get thrown at us on a regular basis is
mhm.
just absurd.
We can actually just call them sister wives at this point
Sister
because it's true.
We're not Mormon.
No, but they're sisters and they're our wives.
Right.
But
Ah,
they do wanna live in a compound. Apparently, that's the hot thing right now. There's the Church of MAGA that's just bought a 40-acre, compound in Texas. So, is this the
n thought of living
Plan
on a
2 compound?
the thought of living on a compound with this family, and I guess I'm fortunate that I, enjoy the company of all members of this family.
For
Um,
the most part.
it's kind of appealing as long as, like, you and I get our own
Yeah.
two-bedroom.
I just want the ability to walk away,
Right.
and actually have a few things that are mine.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, like, I don't need a lot, but, like, half a room that's really mine.
You did it, and so do I. I do have that as well in our current situations. It just got intruded upon by the 2020 effect.
Well, partly that, but also, like, before the 2020 effect when we moved her desk in there, it was an extension of her library.
Right.
And as teachers, she has multiple of the same book because she's responsible for supplying reading options to the students. So I think we've got 6 grades of multiples of the same books
Right.
in boxes throughout. That was supposed to be the weekend plan, was us, prepping the garage. But now I think we're gonna actually try and clean our bedroom in anticipation of the Sleep Number bed. Sleep Number and their Memorial Day sale. Subscribe now.
Uh, there'll be anyone else's price for your mattress is free.
No, that's Larry, and he's killing us. Yeah. Alright. I'm over this. How
Why?
you doing?
You're over podcasting?
No, I'm over being awake. I'm exhausted.
Well, we actually, we hit our natural mark of apparently, we're good for about an hour.
An hour, 2 drinks. The liver finally is like, alright, mercy." Which takes usually more than 2 drinks, but it's been, highly inundated the last couple days.
Well earned, well earned.
Yes.
I think, everyone at your office was happy to finally, meet and greet and
Oh, everyone. And, quite
touch
a
body
few of them
parts, yeah.
are threatening that if I don't show up to the office regularly, they're gonna hunt me down because they want to actually interact with people in real time, not just through Zoom. So I need to figure out how that's gonna work,
Ah,
especially with 1 car.
well, I mean, that was a self-inflicted wound,
Yeah.
which
Well, I mean, and the nice thing is where the office is located, I can get there entirely through the
right,
metro, and it wouldn't be a huge lift. But,
we're not sponsoring Lyft or Uber.
no, because rideshare companies, while being good for, getting home safely, are horrible for their contractors slash should be employees.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, from episode 25 of the Whiskey Podcast, I'm Chew Data,
I am Nate Fu.
and, for any other content, you can find us on debuffdad.com where you'll find links to our YouTube, our podcasts, our social medias, and I'm sure you can find us through carrier pigeons or smoke signals if you really tried. But until next time, um,
Yeah, keep an eye on both this channel and my own channel, twitch.tv/NateFoo, N8FOO. I think we will be doing some more streaming content. I've actually been
yes,
uh, finding ways to get on and just, you know, stick around and play some games. We
right?
don't take anything too seriously.
Yeah, we
So
we don't dick around all that well anyway, so everyone's like, "Oh, it's so bad. There wasn't enough content to grind to get to, the highest light level." And we're like, "We haven't been at the light
right.
level minimums for like 3 seasons."
Yeah, you might catch me flying a plane over the beaches of Southern California because
Oh, you
Microsoft Flight Simulator has been my jam lately.
nice. You should definitely stream that. That one's a lot of fun.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of silence of me just going.
You know what? That's a tag. ASMR is a tag now.
Yeah.
So, circle all the way back.
All right.
But
So yeah, ebuffdad.com. You'll find all the links to all of our channels. I think you actually put me on the channel,
yeah,
and then all of the projects we're involved in. And
yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
you got it.
Well, hopefully game with you all soon. Peace.